And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever is for you, wherever you are in this great big world. I am, of course, Michael John of Michael John Paranormal Ghost Stories, along with the man of the hour, the man of the power, too sweet to be sour. He is to my left of the screen. Dale, high spirits, quickly. Is he up there? Is he down there? No, he's over there. I got it right in one try. Oh, my God. Together we are the voice for the paranormal, the voice of the paranormal. We are Windsor, Ontario's own, the paranormal voice. And oh my God, I'm beside myself right now. We tried to bring this man, our guest, out a few weeks back, and it just didn't work out. Life happens. And it was a bit of a disappointment. That's okay.
Well, before we bring out this guy, and I know we're all excited about seeing him. Whoa, brother. I just want to remind people real quick. Tomorrow, folks, that's right. Michael John and myself will be right here at the Chaos Con. That's right, folks. So come on down, get your tickets, get over to chaos-con-event.com and get your tickets today. Come and join me and Michael John over at Chaos Con up there at Walleye Lake, Michigan. Don't forget, folks, it's going to be the very first annual Chaos Con. So don't forget to join us there tomorrow. And that's all I wanted to say. And, we're just all excited. Everything's happening. So like I said, Michael John, all right, back to you, brother. Let's talk about this gentleman.
Well, and we got a lot going on right now. This is crazy. But I mean, I'm just to my own horn real quick. I'm on the Voice of Contact right now. So if you want to go back and forth, you'll see Michael John double dipping. Oh my God.
Two Michael Johns in this world. Lord, help us.
That'll be on Mystical Awakening's YouTube channel. And of course, yes, exactly. Mystical Awakening's YouTube channel right here, right now as well. Now, without further ado, we're going to talk about this gentleman here. This gentleman is only 32 years young. Oh my God, I wish I was 32 again. Good Lord, bless you for being 32 years old. He's got an 11-year-old boy. He's got a baby girl he just found out on the way. Oh my God. And this guy's got time. He's researching Chupacabra. He's researching Bigfoot. He's researching Dogman. I believe you mentioned Mothman as well, and we were backstage talking to him. He's part of the North American Dogman Project, the West Coast Dogman Project, the United Kingdom Dogman Encounters Project. I'm missing for sure, forgetting projects that he's a part of right now. There's, you know what I mean? If there's some with the name Project in it, he's probably involved in it. Oh my God. Blondes and Booze, they're on board. I see them. Thank you for telling us about Shane Michael Chrisp. If it wasn't for those lovely ladies who we've had on in the past, two other cryptozoologist maniacs, if you will, cryptozoology maniacs. They gave us a list of people, and Shane Michael Chrisp was on the top of that list. So thank you to them. Thank you for being here. Thank you to everybody in the nation for being here. Without further ado, let's bring on our guest now, the one and only Shane Michael Chrisp. Welcome to the TPV Nation.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Michael, Dale, finally ready to do this. Long time waiting. I apologize.
No, it's well worth the wait. No apologies necessary at all. Are you kidding?
No. We're talking cryptids tonight, some Dogman especially.
We're just happy. We're just happy you weren't taken by a Dogman, and that's why you missed the last time. But no, we've been really excited about this. We're so happy to have you on board. Just before we begin, just want to give some shout outs to the people on the side who's already saying hello. We have Caitlin Lloyd. We have Nadine Smith. We have our good friend Frank Roberts.
Frankie,
how's it going, Frank? We have Mandy Bowers and we have Mr. Rob Simpson. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight to listen to this gentleman who is going to blow our minds with so much Dogman knowledge. Get ready to download, folks, because this is going to be exciting for sure.
Definitely.
What? I tell you. So let's just get right into this because I've been waiting to pick your brain so bad. So regarding to the Dogman, where did you, in your opinion, because I'm sure nobody knows, but in your opinion, where did Dogman come from? Like, how long has this cryptid been around?
So you can look up the history of just dog-headed creatures, and you can go all the way back to the Egyptian times with the Anubis, and the Greeks talk about it. Christopher Columbus talked about it. What was it? Saint Christopher was a dog-headed creature. I mean, you look back into the history, and if you really dive into this rabbit hole and want to know about the lore of dogmen or just dog-headed like creatures, it's in our recorded history. So I would say 4,500 BC. I mean, the Egyptian times, roughly. So that's the first account. And then the native people have talked about it for the last millennia. So really, I mean, I know native tribes really don't talk about their culture, their, traditions really, to foreigners or to the outsiders. But the little bit that they have talked about, I mean, the name D.A. Roberts mentions it in his books, the Dark Moon series. I forget the series name, but it's the Wolf Moon, or he writes a whole series. He's got 5 books on it, but they're called the Ulonga Duglala, and I believe that's it means the spirit with knife teeth in Algonquin or Iroquois, I believe, or Cherokee. It's one of the 3.
Wow.
So, I mean, just the name, they've talked about it. They talked about going to war with these things. The same thing with the Sasquatch. So, I mean, it's in just history. I mean, I know it sounds really tinfoil. Oh, an upright canine, people think it's crazy. That's just Hollywood. But where do you think Hollywood got their idea? It wasn't just some guy sitting down with a book and saying, hey, a dog that stands up about 7 feet tall that looks, just terrifying. I'm going to write a book about it. They had to have got their evidence from somewhere. So, I mean, if you really dive down the rabbit hole, it's there.
You know what's interesting for me, Shane? You mentioned going way back to the Egyptian times with Anubis. Back, oh my God, almost 20 years ago, I started having a fascination with Anubis, and I don't know why. Because Dogman's only come into my mind an intrigue in that in the last year and a half, give or take. But I had Anubis, statues, well, way back, one of my relationships, I'll say, and then, they fall apart and all that stuff goes with the woman. Unfortunately, I had a real fascination with that stuff back then, and it kind of disappeared. So now you mentioned, it's like, yeah, I had an intrigue with Anubis, or and like figurines and whatnot
Exactly.
back then. So now I want to ask you. There's for me. I mean, I have so many questions I want to ask. It's like I got to fight. I got to land the plane on one here. Dogman types. There's 3 types, correct?
There's actually 7 on the maps. Me personally, wow. I don't believe that the top 3, and I can even have D.A. Roberts back me on this because we've talked about it. The top 3 in the list have more of the hominid type leg structure, meaning they have the human type legs, but they have more of like a Sasquatch body, but with like a baboon or a chow-like face. And to me personally, I believe those are misidentified Gugwe sightings because Dogman, to me, they say it's the variant 3 has the baboon-like face. Well, if you do your research on the Gugwe, the name Gugwe means face eater, and I think it's in Algonquin, but they have the baboon-like face. So right there, to me, it's like, well, are these mistaken Gugwe sightings if they have the baboon-like face? But if you look at the bottom 4 on the chart, there's a chart you can just type in Dogman variant chart on Google. It'll pop up. You have 4 different types. You have the ones with the wolf-like heads, and then you have the ones that have more like the hyena-like structure, the face to them, which have been seen throughout the United States and even in Canada. But then you've got more of the Van Helsing type werewolf, the German Shepherd-like head, real broad. But then you have the super soldier variants, which have pretty much no neck and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger and just they look like a tank, a dog on steroids, pretty much times 10.
So, and the super soldier you mentioned, and Brandy and Krista from Blondes and Booze and mentioned.
I want to say hi to them real quick. Krista, Brandy, thanks for tuning in. Thank you for getting me in connection with Michael and Dale. I appreciate it.
They taught us when they were on last 1958 is when they dispersed like 20,000 of these super soldiers you're mentioning all over the United States. Is that correct?
Well, that's all theory based. That's hello, are you guys there?
Yeah.
Sorry, I think my computer was cutting out. It's all theory based. I mean, there's no real evidence to really back that up. But I mean, it had to have came from somewhere. That's why I never discredit anyone's accounts or someone saying, "Oh, I saw a dog man and it was, wearing clothes." As crazy as it sounds, you would think it's a werewolf, but I mean, it's been recorded and it's been reported multiple times where they've seen these beings with clothes on or shorts on, especially near the Michigan area. It's been as much as I want to say, "Oh, it's just fake," someone's making it up, but you can't discredit anyone. And to be a researcher in this field, you have to keep an open mind to every possibility. I mean, there's something you can just throw out that you might think that, yeah, it just sounds kind of crazy, maybe not really dive into it, but you still have to write it down and save it, put it in your archives. Because I mean, if you look at what Josh Turner does with Paranormal Roundtable, he gets so many different things, he archives them, and then if he gets some more reports that sound similar, he brings them up and then says, "Hey, there's something to this." I do the same exact thing when it comes to these oddball dogman, stories I hear about, but you just have to keep an open mind to it.
Absolutely. And I mean, keeping an open mind in anything under the paranormal umbrella is probably the most important because, something that sounds so off the wallish could be more true than the story of, somebody saying, "Oh, look at a photo I caught on my trail cam." Type of stuff like that. So, that is key. And getting yourself out there and educating yourself, talking to amazing people like yourself to truly understand, like, the Dogmans, the Bigfoots, whatever you want to call them, Sasquatches, the Yetis, they're all there for us to learn. And yeah, I mean, you as a researcher, being where you're at in California, like you said, California is more known for Bigfoot than it is Dogman.
Exactly.
But at the same time, like everything that comes through has to be, listened to, and then, like you said, archive this stuff. And then when somebody comes back with a similar story, they can say, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's put this all together," and then it becomes exactly. So now, more on the similarities between the Dogman and the werewolf. Is this where I know werewolves are mostly a UK thing, if I remember correctly, and Dogman's more North American.
Yes, but the werewolf lore actually did come over with the European settlers, and especially down towards Louisiana and in the swamp in the bayou area. That's where the story, the Loop Guru, the name Loop Guru comes from. But with, when they start mixing the traditions with some of the native lore down there, the name turned to be Rougarou. So you can still use Loop Guru, but the Rougarou is a shape-shifting, terrifying dogman-like creature, but it has some very similarities to the werewolf lore.
Oh, I just learned that. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're most welcome. I mean, you're just really looking at, there's so many different connections. People think, "Oh, werewolves don't happen. That's just all made up." Well, there's some credibility to it. Yes, physically, something can't just change from a human being into something. It's just not. But there's got to be a paranormal side to it. That's when people say, "Oh, werewolves aren't real." And I'm like, "Well, what about the skinwalkers?" You're going to say that people see skinwalkers. Well, if you look at it, there's similarities. Obviously, it takes a bad medicine man or a shaman to kill someone or do something so evil to become this. But there's a paranormal aspect to it, or something real similar to being a werewolf by getting bit by it, a full moon. And there's something that's interplaying with it to make them turn into this thing. And maybe it's only temporary and then they go back to humans. Like I say, I don't discredit Native Americans because they've been seeing these things. I mean, even saying the word skinwalker is forbidden in their, cultures.
Really?
Right.
Yes. And the actual name that they use is the Yinadalushi. I might be butchering it. My buddy Ryan Trimblay can say it a lot better. It's the Yinadalushi is what they say. That's the actual name for the skinwalkers.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't write quick enough for the oh my God.
Oh, you're good, brother. But there's so many connections. If you look at it across the globe, it's not just in the United States or in the UK.
Yes.
But I mean, Russia has a variant of a werewolf with lore behind it. And in Hawaii, I've been researching the Kaupe, which is the Hawaiian lore on the werewolf, but very similarities to how to become a skinwalker. And if you look into that, there's been reports and sightings over in Hawaii. They don't really talk about it, but I mean, you're going, how does a werewolf get in Hawaii, 3,000 miles from the mainland? It's just, but the lore is there, so you almost have to connect it. It connects, really. It's actually surprising.
So I was listening, Sean Patterson was mentioning on a show you're on with him, DAX Machine episode 105, to be specific. He said he's put donuts out for a Dogman and it completely disappears. What are your thoughts on that? Like, that works?
Well, that's the thing. One thing I've learned from other people that have been in the Dogman field a lot longer than I have. I've only been researching for, I'd say, almost 2 years. But one thing is gifting. Is something you don't want to do is gift. But at the same time, I keep an open mind. I don't go tell anybody, hey, you don't gift. I don't recommend gifting. But I think Sean did that before I ever knew him. And the results he got back was he went back the next day and donuts were gone. So right there just shows that maybe was it a Dogman? Was it? I do believe him because I mean it's his encounter, his sighting, and what happened. He tested the theory, So
right.
Could it have been a mountain lion? Could it have been a bear? I mean, it could have been anything. But I keep an open. Like I said, that's my number one thing. I always tell people you've got to keep an open mind. So unless you got a clear photo of it. But D.A. Roberts even told me, I think it was on that interview, Shane, you can have the clearest photo of a Dogman holding a sign saying, hey, I'm a Dogman. But people are still going to butcher it and say it's a dude in a costume. So, I mean, really, you got to do the research for yourself. And you're going to have naysayers in these communities that are going to butcher you and say, oh, it's pareidolia. You do it for the love of what you want to do. This is what I saw.
Right.
But I think it's different when someone goes out into a tree line and just takes 100 photos and says, hey, there's a Dogman here and a Dogman here and a Dogman chilling right there. Well, did you see it? That's my big thing. If they didn't see it, then really there's more credibility to me on a photo. If someone said, hey, I saw this creature run across the road. I took out my phone and this is what I caught. It might be a blur, but it seems like there's more of a backstory to it. So
right. Absolutely. I just want to say hello. We just got some more people popping on. We have Donnie popping on. Welcome, Donnie. Jess and Shannon and Deb. So, welcome, everybody. If anybody's got a question for Shane, just type it in the comments, and we'll make sure that Shane will answer any of your questions that you might be having.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is all about the people on the side as well as it is. Oh, we just had somebody else pop on. That was just Shannon saying good evening to everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the Paranormal Voice.
So, gifting. Now, I've heard the term before. Could you explain that a little bit? I mean, I know it sounds so obvious, but sometimes the most obvious is not what you're thinking.
No, exactly.
So,
for example, if you gift, let's just use the Sasquatch, for example. I've thought about doing it, and I was told by some other people that said, hey, yes, you'll definitely get some sightings and stuff. But then again, I've looked at it, and I've talked to other researchers before I was going to do it, and I backed out of doing it. Because gifting, let's say the Sasquatch, you hear Dale, you're like, hey, there's a Sasquatch down this road. I'm going to go set some apples 10 feet up in the tree so I can give it. Well, you keep doing that every single day. The day that you stop, and let's just say, Dale, you're going to go on vacation for 2 weeks. Well, your next door neighbor decided to go on an evening walk with his wife, and he walks by the area, and he gets attacked or he goes missing because those apples weren't there. And then, I mean, they're going to realize that, hey, there's not apples here. These creatures, if that's what they are, I mean, they could be interdimensional, but if they get used to taking these apples, then the day that you stop gifting them, that's when they're going to, kind of like, hey, what the heck, and attack pretty much. And start searching and say, it's just one of those things that I don't highly recommend gifting. But if people do, hey, that's on you. But I think it does more harm to other people that are in the field, that are just either hiking or just taking a nightly walk, because they're going to be the first thing that they target, and an innocent person gets hurt or goes missing.
Right.
So I highly recommend not gifting, but if that's something you want to do, I just highly advise if you do gift in an area where there isn't going to be a high traffic area with other individuals, might be.
Right.
Got a couple on the side, Dale.
Oh, yes. Okay, so we have Nadine asks, Shane, what are your thoughts on the paranormal aspects of Dogman?
I definitely do believe there's a paranormal aspect to it. There's a lot of researchers I listen to. I listen to the podcast, and I'll use Josh Turner as an example. I've talked to him on the phone, and he's like, "There's definitely a paranormal side to this. There's got to be." One of the things that I look at is I credit Nick Valente. Nick Valente is a good friend of mine. He's actually the founder of the International Dogman Project, and it's something I've taken from him and I've learned, and actually interviewed him a couple weeks back, is that he did a survey of Dogman sightings and UFO sightings. And he, after a 6-month review or survey, he had 400 reports at 92% of these Dogman sightings, there was a UFO sighting or before or after the encounter. And then that more reports started coming in 3 months after, and that list jumped up to 700 encounters or sightings, and that 92% jumped up to 94%. So there's some type of paranormal aspect to it. Is it these dogmen coming from another dimension and just coming here to eat and then leave? I mean, with Nick Valente's encounter, he wasn't even looking for the dogman, saw the thing, and then it just vanished. He saw a UFO shortly right after that. So right there, I don't know if these aliens are just picking them up or dropping them off, or if they are interdimensional. That's the thing. That's why I keep an open mind to it, because there's a lot of similarities to these sightings. And then the same things with the portals. I know a lot of people talk about portals. You see these strange footprints, same with Sasquatch. You only see the one print. Are they portal hopping, jumping through dimensions? I mean, wasn't it Einstein, or I can't remember the physicist who discovered that there's 11 dimensions? I don't know if you guys can help me on that one. I don't know. No, I did hear though.
Not me something I got to look into.
Yeah, supposedly some physicists said there was 11 dimensions. I mean, science hasn't proved it, but I mean, there was something to these 11 dimensions. So if there's just one dimension, and these things are just jumping through, but there's always seems to be the one print. And are they just jumping through? I talked to a buddy of mine in New York. His name's Al Santoriga. He was another one, and he's like, dude, these things, it sounded like this thing was running up on me, and then it just vanished. And then a quarter mile down the road, you heard a howl. And it's like, what did it do? Did it jump through a portal? So that's something I wrote down in my notes, and I archived it, saying, okay, I've heard that somewhere else. And that's why I kind of look into it just a little bit more, saying there's got to be a paranormal aspect to these things. My personal theory is if they're here in this world on Earth and they're eating on a deer carcass, or they're walking across the road, or you see them huffing and puffing, then obviously they're flesh and blood because they're in this dimension, in this physical form. But then when they run into the tree line and then the trail stops, where did they go? Yeah. I do believe in the cloaking aspect. I do believe they cloak, and I do believe they can camouflage. I believe there's a couple of researchers I've actually looked into, and that they've, just like with Sasquatch, you see these things when they put light on these creatures, their fur or hair absorbs the light. So, and then looking at that, I don't know the researcher who actually took a Sasquatch hair sample and looked at it underneath a magnifying glass, but it supposedly reflected light. I don't know if that was Dr. Melba Ketchum. I could be wrong. I don't want to butcher that or say, hey, this was this. I want to say it was a researcher like her that looked at a hair follicle, and it showed that it bent light. So I don't know if it was a Sasquatch. I believe it was, but like I say, don't credit me on it. I've heard that. It's just, it would make sense, because if you look at the NADP's picture on the website in Northern California in Jedediah National Forest, it's probably one of the best photos of the dogman actually that circulates online. But the gentleman was hiking on the trail, took a picture of it, and from his cell phone. And you don't see the face of it. You see its back, but you see its shoulders. You see what looks like a tail, and you see the pointed ears. And then a gentleman that goes by the name Matt Squatch actually took this photo and tried turning up the brightness all the way, and it's still just black as can be. There's no light through this creature. So There's a lot
with
of
the
different
portal.
rabbit holes.
with the portal, with the alleged, they're going in and out of portals.
Mm-hmm.
There's an association with UFOs and all that. My own theory is, like you see a UFO and all of a sudden there's Dogman, there's Bigfoot. Why couldn't, just for theory's sake, why can't they be chasing the UFOs? They're coming after them. Who knows what's really going on in that respect? They could be coming or going, looking or hiding from or part of 8 million theories.
Definitely.
What I want to ask, like out here where we're at we're right across from Detroit, Michigan. We're in a place called Windsor, Ontario. And of course, we have suburbs and lots of tree lines and stuff like that. Some are bigger than others. I mean, a few acres big, nothing massive by any means, but we have deer. We do have water here and there. Now, I'm wondering, I argue with Dale all the time. I want to go, and I'm going to bring up a point that validates this in a minute. Why can't they be here in these tree lines? If there's deer, if there's running water, why couldn't there be a Bigfoot? Why couldn't there be a Dogman? Or why couldn't be there as well any other type of cryptid that we haven't even heard of yet or thought of?
Exactly.
So my mother lives like 2 hours away from here, and her neighbor, his name was Pat Griffith, great old man, love him. I call him a friend now, but he's 30 years of hanging out in the forest, running around, hunting, doing whatever. So I had to ask once I knew that. Because there's tree lines right near where my mom lives. I'm like, hey, Pat, have you ever heard or have you ever seen any type of weird structures or stuff that doesn't make sense out there to you? Like, maybe the way trees are intertwined or knocked over, et cetera. He's like, oh, yeah. He goes, I've seen lots of stuff like that. I go, but what about noises? You're obviously familiar with animals around here. Have you heard anything that doesn't? You're like, I don't know what that is. He's like, I've heard quite a few like that, too. So when I hear that, I've already set up. I want Dale to come and my cousin who's into it, who got me into cryptids way back when, starting with Bigfoot. We're going to go check this out with Pat at night just to see what we can find out. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? With the portals and the other dimensions, what's the probability, if you will, of them being in tree lines as well, something smaller?
Oh, that's definitely everything you hit on with the creeks, the tree lines. That's where the Dogmen like to hang out. Same with Sasquatch. But there's a waterway and there's a lot of deer. A lot of people will say that these things follow the migration pattern and will go where these deer are. But I mean, that would be the perfect place to look, is by a waterway. You're going to get the best evidence. And most Dogman encounters or sightings are at nighttime. They are seen throughout the day too, but I mean, looking at the NADP website, we have a chart there that shows the sightings of the times of when you're most likely going to see them. And these are how Jody was able to get these. Was he took all the reports, Jody and the team, and they calculated it. Like, they took this encounter. This encounter was said to have been seen at 9 o'clock. This encounter was saw at 11. And they make the graph that you can check on the website.
And where's this at?
It's on the North American Dogman Project website. And it shows by seasons, and it also has by times. And it'll show you that Dogman encounters most likely are going to happen. I think it's anywhere from 11 to 4 o'clock in the morning, around the witching hour at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock. But most encounters you hear of are more at nighttime. So I do recommend going out. If you guys do go, take at least a firearm, because like Nick Valente always told me and tells everybody, you have the right to go into the woods, but you also have the right to come back out. And I highly recommend going in a team of 4 to 7 people.
Yeah,
definitely don't go out alone, and take a recording device, with you, so you can get maybe you might get some howls, some whoops. Definitely take, like I say, bear spray. That's another thing Nick highly recommends. Bear bangers. Definitely a firearm if you have flashbangs. I don't know if they allow that out there, but hey, if you're in the woods, it's fair game. So that's one I think I live by, is you have the right to go in the woods. We have the right to come back out. And Nick was very, really, that's what he preaches, and he's truly right about, because yes, we are entering in their domain. That's their home, and we are infringing on their territory, but we have the right to go in there and not, if you look at the IDP, the NADP, very similar on being no-kill organizations. We don't recommend killing the Dogmen, but you have the right to defend yourself. So if you do see one, if you have you see them and you're terrified, but if you have the right to be able to pull a gun out and they see that, if you look at the encounters, they normally freak out when they see a gun, or they'll tell you, put that away, or they take off running. I mean, it's so many different encounters and stories you hear, but take a firearm. Yeah. You have the right to protect yourself.
Absolutely. So I know what shift I'll take. I'll take like the 6 a.m. till 11 a.m. That'll be my shift.
Right.
Michael John could have the 11 p.m. till 4 a.m. That'll be his.
That's where you're gonna get the most sightings.
No, just wait here. If one of us has to come back out of the woods. So,
Right.
But no, just want to acknowledge we do have some people. We have Christy Nayers here. Welcome, Christy. Shelley Hughes and Christy Datus. Welcome everybody. Like I said, everybody's enjoying tonight. They're all commenting on how formative this is. There was one question. Let me just find it real quick. Go ahead, Michael John, if you have a question for him, and I'm going to find out this other question. I'll have to scroll back a little bit. They're just.
Yeah. Dave Politis, missing 411. On one of his gazillion stories that he shares, and I can listen. That's another guy I could just listen to for hours.
Oh yes, definitely.
All the uniqueness and the missing people and the synchronicities in the areas, multiple, missing the same way. He mentioned one time. I'm just looking here. There's a young girl, I believe it was. She went missing for a few days. And they, and when they comb the areas, they always go over the same areas multiple times just to retrace their tracks, make sure they didn't miss anything. And so this girl eventually shows up at one of the spots they had combed over on like the third day or whatever it was. Now, she was alive, fortunately. And they were asking her, and I'm doing my best to remember this. Don't quote me on this, but on the story itself, but it's close enough, I think. They said, so why didn't, because she saw them. Well, why didn't you scream or let us know where you were? She said, the dog man had his hand over my mouth.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so where's your hat? She had a hat. Her hat was missing. Where'd your hat go? Oh, he ate it. So how did you survive in the 3 days? Are you hungry? No, I'm not hungry. Well, what did you eat? Oh, he fed me berries.
Wow.
Yeah, this is Dave Politis. If I can find it, I don't remember which episode it was because there's so many. But if I can find it, might have been on one of his coast to coast. There's like a marathon of coast to coast with Dave Politis. I believe it was that series that I listened to. He's got his own YouTube channel as well. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure it's from a coast to coast series where he mentions that story.
Yeah, if you could send that, or if you ever come across it, I'd love to hear that.
Yes.
Because I mean, dogmen are definitely intelligent creatures. That's one thing. Same with the Sasquatch. I mean, that's why we still haven't got a clear photo of one. I mean, they obviously like to try to avoid humans. They like areas that aren't really where there's gonna be human activity. They like to be out where there's just thick forest. I mean, that's the thing. But when they see humans, most of the time it's, hey, you saw me, I'm getting out of here. So it's not a fight or flight thing, but it kind of is, because I mean, when you're infringing on their territory, it's like, hey, you're coming into my house. If you meet like me walking into your house, Michael, if you didn't know who I was, you'd probably be like, who the hell are you? Get out of my house. That's exactly how it is out in the woods. I mean, you definitely
makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, but most of the time it's, oh shoot, just like any natural animal, like a bear that sees humans, especially in a big group, or a mountain lion. Most of the time they're not going to attack. They see human activity, they run away. But then again, these things have been known to attack people, and it's been recorded.
Yeah, and some people don't even make it out.
Exactly.
They've slaughtered families.
Exactly, and that's the one that you mentioned. The most famous one would be the LBL incident back in 1983. Have you ever looked into that?
No. Bravo, Larry.
I know Brandy and Krista mentioned that when we were interviewing them on the show about the dogman that took out the whole family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very gruesomely. Yeah, that's Michael. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you can look up the Beast of LBL and just look into it. I know Krista and Brandy went with others like Barton Nunley and Letitia Nunley. Yes. Yeah, Land Between the Lakes. You just look into that. That the encounter alone, if it really did happen, which I do believe it did, because I've talked to other investigators that have looked into it, and there was a lot of cover up. My big question is, why was the family's name never released? But obviously due to cover up. But I don't know who would make this up unless it was a really good Hollywood director that would love to make a movie out of it. It would make a good movie. But how gruesome it was, the attack. And there's so many different possibilities. Elijah Henderson and his institute, I forget the name of his him and his dad did a series on this where they actually looked up and brought up different scenarios on what caused the attack, all the way from the pheromones to the wife's perfume to the dad's cologne, or it could have just been hunting season. I mean, there's so many different theories on why this family was unfortunately killed. I've talked to some investigators though that live in the area, and they think it never happened. Someone made up the story to get the publicity and get people to come down to the area to be a tourist destination. But I highly don't believe that, because so many people have seen this creature in the Kentucky area, in the Tennessee region. So there's got to be some similarities or a couple creatures that are in the area. But the attack alone, and I want to say it happened in November or December of 1982 or 1983. So the family was out camping. Well, it might have been in the fall. I've heard other people say fall, but a lot of people say November, December. But they were camping, and it was a father and a son. I'll just kind of sum it up because I don't know if you guys have a lot of time, but it's more the fact that the father and the son were outside. Well, then the dad's just pretty much butchered. I think his arm was ripped off. The little boy was ripped to shreds. And then the mom was inside the trailer protecting the little girl. And then the Dogman creature broke in, killed the mom, and then took the little girl. And then she was found after, I think, another witness or someone in the nearby campsite had witnessed, the onslaught, called, the law enforcement, and they came by. And when they were walking by, one of the officers noticed blood was dripping from a tree. I think it was 8 to 10 feet up in the air, was the little girl's body. She was just torn to shreds. But I mean, I didn't give detail for detail, but that's kind of like the sum of what happened. All 4 were massacred in this gruesome, unfortunate event. But there was some cover-ups, and then I've talked to some people that say that there might have been 1 to 2 dogmen working together. It does make sense if there was 2. I mean, like I said, I keep an open mind to it, but you got to also keep an open mind. Why did it attack? Was it during feeding season? Was it something that they were cooking? Was it the mom's perfume that triggered, the stench? Like, what the hell's this? I'm going to go investigate, and it might have pissed them off. Or, I mean, there's so many different theories on it.
Yeah,
so.
For sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. So just wanted to circle back to the whole photo thing. Mm-hmm. Now, with Bigfoot, Dogman, or actually any cryptic picture that's been discovered or put out there, why is it that nobody can ever get a clear photo? I mean, these trail cams, and I own some, take absolutely clear as day photos, but when it seems to come to a Dogman, a Bigfoot, a Loch Ness monster, or whatever cryptid is out there, the New Jersey Devil, it's never a clear photo. What would be your theory on why this is? I'll give you mine first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think because they are cryptid interdimensional creatures, that their vibration doesn't allow it to be photographed clearly. Mm-hmm. So that's the way I would look at it. But so what would be your theory on this? Like, why can we never get a clear shot of any of these creatures?
I wish I had the answers for you, Dale, because I know we have so many naysayers in these communities that just love to go jump on people saying, "Oh, you shot this with a potato," we have iPhones now that shoot clear photos. Why can't we get a clear photo? And that's a great question. And I believe you hit a hammer on the nail right there. Is if these things, there's a paranormal aspect to it. If they are interdimensional, because I've picked up on different things. I've gone out and taken pictures and they come out fuzzy, but yet I take a picture of my son holding the football and it's clear as day. I can see his, freckles on his face, it's something like that, A lot of people wonder why, but then you look at the Patterson-Gimlin film and it's very clear. I mean, yes, it was filmed in 1968, but it was filmed on a different type of camera. They were using an 8mm camera than compared to what the electronics now. One of the theories I highly believe in is that the Dogman, Sasquatch, any type of cryptid, they have the ability to, disrupt the electromagnetic field around them. So that's why they can pick up on LEDs. So that's why you never see a clear photo on a trail cam when people just go strap, a trail cam onto a tree 10 feet up, thinking, hey, I'm going to get the $1 million photo of a Bigfoot. But yet you might only see the arm of a Bigfoot or something blurred by because they pick up on the infrared, and also that the chemicals that are made up with the trail cams is made out of polyethylene. So right there, they can smell that, oh, there's some human been around here. That's one of the things they try to avoid is human contact. And why is that? I ask that question all the time. Why? I just want to stay still. Let me get a photo of you. You know?
Yeah, just let me get one photo, please. That's all I'm asking. And then you can go on your merry way and live your happy life.
Yeah.
I just want that one photo.
I just want the one photo, please.
I can get my $20 million payday for having the clearest photo of Bigfoot ever.
Right? I can retire. Be happy.
So,
sorry, what I'm curious about, going out there and looking like my you know, my plan is, if you will, what do you look for if you're looking for Dogman? I mean, I know with Bigfoot, they'll line trees up a certain way. They almost have like a teepee-like structure to some of them. They're bent a certain way, the branches, etc. with Bigfoot. But with Dogman, what would you look for?
Some very similar stuff. So Dogman nests obviously are more primitive, to where you see the intricate structures that the Sasquatch make, the teepees, the interwoven tree limbs, very beautiful structures. Dogman nests are just pretty much branches and foliage that are thrown over on top of each other, and they burrow themselves down at a 45-degree angle. So when a deer is walking by, I mean, this isn't proven, but obviously I've talked to a lot of Dogman investigators that have come across nests, and they all have a lot of similarities to them. I've come across a couple here in California, and I've sent them to people like DA. They say that looks very primitive, like a possible Dogman den. So I actually sat inside it. I didn't see it burrow at a 45-degree angle, but the theory is behind it is they burrow at a 45-degree angle. So if any type of game is walking by, like a deer, they can launch out at it. But they stay low because they're picking up whatever they can, and the scent also travels too. So I mean, downhill. So that's why I've heard that they're built downstream, so they pick up whatever livestock or type of game is coming down. I mean, it's all theory based, but a lot of Dogman investigators I've talked to say they're more primitive type structures. It's not real pretty, I guess you could say, compared to the Sasquatch.
Okay, that's also fair. So. Now, dogmen are known for their yellow eyes.
Yes.
That's like Bigfoot has a certain eyes, but dogmen are known for their yellow eyes. Now, why is it with the colors? I mean, I would think like mostly they'd be blacked out eyes, really. Like,
there's been some theories or some reports where they said they've seen just black-eyed dogmen, where there's no eye shine to them or bioluminescence glow to it. But most of the time, the encounters you do hear about at night, they have more of the bioluminescent amber color eyes, or some have even seen red. If you really want to watch a good informative video on Dogman eye colors, look up Dark Waters Dogman 101 video, and he breaks down the 7 different eye colors that have been reported. So I've heard the theories on Dogman eye shine being mood. Like if they're in a bad mood, they're going to be red. If they're happy and go freely, it might be purple or blue. I mean, it's all theory based, but it's Dark Waters did his research on it, and it almost makes sense to why there's different eye shine. But with the more of the red eye shine, I think almost more. Some people say demonic. I mean, really, is it? I don't know if these things are. People say that they look demonic when you see them. I mean, people have been reported to urinate themselves when they see them, especially when they stand up on all two. So, but yeah, the eye shine, it's one of those that it's still a lot of theories and research that needs to be done on it. My personal opinion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We just had a new person join. Mark, welcome, buddy. Yeah, you're never late to the party. This is an ongoing party, so never be worried about you. I think we just had another comment here. It says, Martin Graves has given a terrifying experience with Dogman. They stalked him in the woods, and his story makes you never want to go back into the woods again to camp. Just from what I'm hearing, I never want to go back in the woods and camp. And I'm an outdoors guy. I love camping, so don't ruin this for me, please.
Well, if you want to check out Martin Groves Encounter, I would highly recommend looking. You can find it on YouTube. But if you want to buy, he has 2 books called The Beast of LBL. I actually bought it about 2-3 months ago, and it's actually terrifying. And he talks about, and the gentleman had to wait till after he was done with his law enforcement career to even come out and tell about it. He told about it last year on the Dogman conference out there in Paris, Tennessee, that Josh Turner hosted. And to me, it's one of the most credible, most believable, because he's not gaining anything out of it. You can really check out his interview if you guys know Tony Merkel with the Confessionals. He actually did a 2-hour interview with Martin Groves, and Martin goes in detail for detail about what happened in I believe it was in 93 or 94. So definitely one of the most terrifying and most believable stories, because the gentleman's not trying to gain anything out of it. It's that unfortunately he had to wait till after his law enforcement career to tell his encounter, because the ridicule that he would have gotten, by other officers or people in the department. And to me, one of the most believable stories also is Joe Bargers. You can check his out. He was up there in Michigan, not too far from you guys, just a truck driver. And, he shot and reportedly killed one of these things. So, I don't want to ruin the story for you, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think Brandy and Krista was talking about that too, about a guy that claimed that he shot a Bigfoot. And, but if you shot him, where's the body? We need to see the body.
Yeah.
So we just had a quick comment here. It says Facebook user, but I think it's Mark. It says, do you think eye color represents maybe how your own inner self sees it? Like your own personal perspective, perhaps? It's strange that their colors are different from many different people who see it.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Like I say, it's definitely a good theory. That maybe that could be. Definitely something to archive and say. That's actually a good question. I don't know. On my end, it just says Facebook user, but I think that's a really good question that needs to be looked at again, because it is all because some people are colorblind. A Bigfoot might have red eyes, but the person that might be colorblind sees green eyes. So,
right.
Not to make fun of anyone that's colorblind. I'm just saying for an example, it's using like that as a reference. It's just, maybe it is, all the personal perspective. So now they picked it up. And my big thing I do believe is these creatures know when you're out in the woods. So when Michael, Dale, when you guys go out and you're going to do an investigation, these things are going to know you're in the area. They're going to pick up on your scent. They're already going to know. That's why I always tell people to go out with an open mind. Don't say, oh, these things don't exist. These things will present themselves to you when they're ready to, present themselves to you, when they want you to see them.
So I want to ask with attacks, when they attack, like there's stories, I'm a huge fan of Dogman Encounters Radio. That's where I learned a lot. That was where I cut my teeth, no pun, if you will. I heard so much and learned so much from Vic Cundiff's show, right, with all his guests. Now, they talk about where they go into people's chicken coops and no rhyme or reason, just destroy the chickens, brutally kill them for fun almost, right?
Yeah,
but
for
sport. Comes to
like
an attack on a deer, let's say, when they're eating them, apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, of course, they only eat the guts, the heart, the eyes, and the brain. Why is that?
That's another good question. Why is that? To me, that almost shows their intelligence right there. I mean, obviously, if we look at it from a scientific aspect of it, I mean, those are going to be the most nutrients, the most protein of any type of animal. But then you've seen them being killed, and then everything's just left. There's one Dogman encounter, Mike, that if you've listened to, it's probably one of the most terrifying. That I don't know if I do believe the gentleman. Like I said, I keep an open mind to it. It's like a 2-hour long interview where he talked about this gentleman. I think his name was Ryan, and he talks about his stepdad and when he was a young boy, when he was 13 years old. And
don't go. It sounds
okay. Yeah. So supposedly his stepfather killed a dogman and his spouse, I guess, or his significant other, and there was a pup that was involved. Well, years later, all of a sudden they start seeing these things, and there's some of the story, but the cattle were mutilated, or one of the horses were. But the pup that parents were killed grew up and was going to attack and get back at him, but it killed one of the cows and took out its insides, its intestines, and wrapped it in a perfect circle around it, and then pretty much ripped the heart out, and then urinated on Ryan's sweater, and then that sweater was found in the back of the truck. So, I mean, is it a made-up story? If it is, it's the best one made. But right there, just showing its intelligence, and Ryan even says, "I'm here to pretty much tell you we are intelligent." That's exactly. It just blew my mind when I heard it.
Is that the story where Ryan, his dad, and his uncle, they're working at a house, and they had Ryan stay inside, and they would do work on the outside. And if the dog started barking, they would come inside and put Ryan inside of the bathroom and put garbage bags up over the window so nothing could see inside. Is that the one?
Oh, that might have been. I haven't listened to it in probably about, I would say, 8 months, but I do believe there's some similarities to it. I believe with Ryan's, though, was he saw the creature and he told his stepdad, and he said, "You stay inside, I'll do your chores outside." I think
that's
it was
the
him
same one. It's got to be
the
same one. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's got to be it then.
They end up setting something up where they put bear traps around the entire perimeter of the house. And
I don't know if it was in the house, but yeah, it was some on the property though.
Yeah,
and I think they.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead. No, but
put shrubbery up over top to make it look like they were just doing to trick it, because they were sure it was watching the whole time. Just to make it look like they're doing landscaping, but meanwhile it was like a booby trap all around the house. So when I went to look in the window again, it would get caught, and it did. And they came out. They made the dog stay inside, and the father and the uncle came outside, and I think the kid's name was Ryan. I'm not 100% on that, but he heard gunshots, and they made Ryan come out and look at the dead carcass of the Dogman. Does that ring a bell?
I think it does. I say I'm not too familiar with it. I off my knowledge, but definitely it sounds very similar. I think it was the one. I think they trapped the mom and the dad and killed. I think that could have been it. I have to re-listen to it, but
yeah,
I mean, it's probably the most terrifying
encounter. For sure.
But yeah, it's just Vic Cundiff. If people are new to the Dogman phenomenon, people have their comments about every individual, like, "Oh, don't listen to them, don't listen to them." Yeah. I say we're all doing research, and I think if we all collaborate together, we'll get a lot farther in the field. But the reasons why we don't is because you have people that bicker and say, "This person's doing that, this person's doing this, they're only in it for this." But I mean, really, Vic's got some of the most credible guests on his show. I mean, there's a reason why he's got 100,000 subscribers. There's a reason why he has 450 plus episodes out. People go to him because this is 20 years ago. We would have all been crucified for this, saying, "Oh, Dogman or werewolves ain't real." We would be made fun of. But now, as technology has been presented with the internet and people being more accepting and understanding, more people are coming forward with their encounters. And I think that's a great tool to have. I think people like Linda Godfrey were she's the godmother of the Dogman. She was the first trailblazer into this in the 1980s. I mean, with the Beast of Bray Road, Elkhorn, was just people were finding fascination into this. So, I mean, people that, like Jody Cook, trailblazers in these fields, that's what we have to have. Now it's more common. It seems like the Dogman, in my personal opinion, is, supplanted Bigfoot and is the number one cryptid people are so curious about. Just since 2015 alone to now, we're talking 8 years, and it's just the phenomenon's grown.
It's exploded.
Yeah, exploded. Yeah, just crazy.
Yeah.
So,
going back to Vic Cundiff, real quick, he just posted in the last week, and if you want, I'll fire it off to you. I haven't had a chance to listen to the story yet, but someone's talking about a 10-foot. Are you ready for it? Drum roll. A 10-foot cat man.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Dogman needs something to play with.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But
a 10-foot. I mean,
yeah.
There's so many.
I'll send it your way so you can listen to it. I haven't heard it either. I haven't had a chance, but
yeah, if you check it out, I'd look, or just maybe I can even YouTube it and look it up. But a lot of similarities is people saying that the Black Panther or black cats in the South, that we don't have black cats, but there's lores of the Wampus cat, and that's one thing I looked up. The Wampus cat has a lot of similarities. You can look that one up, Michael, if you want to check that out. Maybe
Wampus cat.
Yeah, the Wampus cat. It's something
WAMPUS?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Wampus cat. And I mean, you look at that, and that's something that seems real similar. Maybe these sightings go with the cat man. Same thing with the goat man. I don't know what's up with the goat man, but it seems like there's been a lot of recent sightings of that. I tried not to really believe, the goat man's not real. But like I say, I got to keep an open mind to it. Same thing with Mothman. I mean, there's been sightings of them, so hey, got to keep an open mind to it.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, we all have to keep an open mind. I mean, maybe what we're talking about tonight, aliens, ghosts. I mean, you got to keep an open mind. but that's just a lot of what society teaches us, that these things are not real because Hollywood makes them up, and now we're going to see them everywhere. And I truly believe, like, if you really convince yourself that you're looking at a Dogman, your mind will see a Dogman. I mean, our minds are very creative and very intellectual, that you can manifest anything you want to see. But being an open mind and listening, and instead of just pawning it off as, oh, it can't be real. Well, we don't know, because you can't be everywhere and you're not everywhere, and this is a really big world that we live in.
Exactly.
Mark has a question that says, this might be silly question, but do you think there is a good Dogman out there, or do you think it's just evil, if you want to call it that? I ask because if they caught one and found a way to learn from them, maybe we can learn more about them. I mean, I guess that would be. I don't think you would really be able to find anything that would be able to house these things, knowing the brutal strength that a Bigfoot or a Dogman has. I mean, I don't think there's any type of steel in this world that would be able to cage them, even if you were able to try to capture them. But what is good or good or bad Dogman? What is your theory on that? Is there both?
I don't believe Dogmen are demonic. I don't. Maybe people might think they are. I personally don't think they are, and I don't believe any question is a silly question. So if it was Mark that asked that question, I don't think any question. We have to. We could probably play a drinking game. How many times I say this, but you got to keep an open mind. But I do believe there's different rabbit holes you could jump down. Do I believe the government's involved or know about these things? I personally do think the government is aware because of certain encounters that you hear that. These three-letter agencies show up and, they go in, they kill one of these things, and out comes, a body bag, and these guys having a standoff with, the local sheriffs, and then they all leave, men in military garb. I don't believe some of the encounters I've heard, like, did they use the Dogman in the Vietnam Wars to go out there and in the tunnels? But, I mean, if you look at some of the reports and then some of the encounters or stories you hear, it kind of almost does make sense. That's why I say, really, I archive most of the stuff, but one of the craziest things I did hear about was the U.S. government used the Dogman during the Vietnam War, and they were on a contract. And then after their contract, oh, sorry, are you guys there?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, my computer cut out. But they used them, and they were on contract to go in and kill the Viet Cong in these tunnels. But after they were done with their contract, let's say it was 6 months to a year, they brought them back and then released them out into the national forests here in the United States. And what's the most protected thing here in the United States? The national parks. So, I mean, if you started aligning it, I'm like, hey, there might be something to it. But they chipped them, and then that's where you hear about, if you watch like Jeff Nadolny's show, Jeff talks to this one gentleman named Victor, and Victor's on this group. I don't know if it's entertainment purposes or but it's really believable. I personally think there's some credibility to it, but it's the fact that when these Dogmen are seen, or all of a sudden, or if they get shot at or they die, all of a sudden these three-letter agencies show up within 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden that body's gone. Are they really chipped? I mean, and were they released out into the national parks? So many questions to really, hey, there's a question here. But when you start getting questions that are real singular, you start seeing the pattern. Well, is the United States government involved or, acknowledging this? I mean, you look at it right now, the government is releasing, a little bit of disclosure on the UFO. How long did it take that? Since Roswell, 1947. So 70 plus years till they start releasing a little bit on the UFO. Yeah, there's something else out there. How long is it going to take for them to, say, hey, there's Bigfoot, there's Dogman? Right now, I believe we're still in the infancy with the Dogman research. We need more researchers out in the field and, pressing people. Like, it's good to have organizations like the NADP, the IDP, to get boots on the ground research out there, because it's such a new cryptid. I believe we're a little bit farther along in the Sasquatch community with the Patterson-Gimlin film, and there's some files that have been released, but they're so archived and blacked out. It's just, that they're kind of releasing a little bit on the Bigfoot, but it was just a little bit. A lot of it was redacted on these files, but it was just, right now with Dogman, it's just questions is all we really have until we can get a body Do I believe they've done, experiments on them and housed them and made super soldiers? It's very possible. So just questions is all we've got for now. And I think that's just where we're at. To me, what I tell people is that we're at a concrete barrier in the Dogman community. We don't have the credible photos, the legit photos, or anything. We got to get past that, where the Patterson-Gimlin film is the concrete evidence for the Bigfoot. You're getting people that disprove it, but that was filmed over 50 years ago, and they still can't disprove it. We almost need something like that with the Dogman, and we almost had that with the Gable film. But Monster Quest actually interviewed the gentleman up there in Michigan, and he came out and he went on Monster Quest and said, yeah, it was hoax. I was a guy in a ghillie suit. But when I look at it, I don't know how a guy moves like that in a ghillie suit. I mean, even when he tried recreating how he moved, it wasn't the same. It was just, I kept an open mind to that too. I'm just like, well, was he hushed by the government saying, hey, you need to release this video, or, pretty much say it's a hoax? I mean, that could have happened too. And I've heard that from other individuals and researchers.
So now, Shane, what's happening with Shane Michael Chrisp, the West Coast Dogman Project? I saw you got swag that just came out recently. Hats, T-shirts. I like those. Those are nice.
Thank you.
How can someone access that? Where can someone, if they think they have a Dogman, they've had an encounter, something's going on, something cryptid like, they want to reach out to someone to get some help. They're in your area or not in your area, they just have questions they need answered. How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, you can reach out to me on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel called the West Coast Dogman Project. We interview researchers and people that have had Dogman encounters. But you can reach us out on YouTube or on Facebook. We have a group there, the West Coast Dogman Project. You reach out to me on the North American Dogman Project Region 1 Facebook page, as well as the United States Dogman Federation. I've got so many other different pages I've created under the West Coast cryptid communities. I mean, you just type in my name, Shane Michael Chrisp, on Facebook, I'll pop up. And I don't judge anyone. I don't ridicule anyone, because that's why I never really got into this till about 2 years ago. Just the ridicule, I just didn't, was like, nah. I've always believed in Sasquatch, always believed in UFOs. But, I'm one person that I don't judge anyone. I keep an open mind to it, and I'll listen.
Right on. I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just before we let you go here, just want a huge thank you for you to coming on today. We definitely have to get you back on, because I know we're just scratching the surface of a lot of questions that were coming in. I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. Hope you enjoyed this as much as we did, because I'll tell you, Shane was absolutely amazing. But yeah, I just want to give my 2 cents worth. I'm sad that this hour flew by. That's what I'm really. We need a cryptic creature to stop time so we could talk forever on this.
Right. We can go all day about the Dogman. Like I said, I'm so fascinated by it. I'm obsessed with the Dogman, and just like Michael is, I spend all day, even when I'm at work, I throw a podcast on and I just listen to it, or I'm researching it when I have a little bit of downtime. So. But I did want to tell people I am going to be, going on a hiatus here around in October. I'm going to be taking probably about 6 months to almost a year off, researching purposes, because the baby will be here in December, and I'm going to have to shelve all interviews, investigations that I had planned. So, that's not unfortunate, because I'm happy because we're getting an addition. But one thing I did realize that I've talked to the wife is the Dogman isn't going anywhere. Sightings are just going to increase. So by the time I get back into it, I'm going to probably have a stack of investigations to go do. So pretty stoked about that.
Congratulations!
Thank you
on your baby. Congratulations on that little girl coming up for you. You got your 11-year-old son. You got a beautiful family. You got a lovely wife. A lot of blessings in your life, and you're kicking ass and taking names, as they say in the Dogman community. I mean, there's a list of projects, and I got, hold on, I got to go back to my notes. Oh my God. Like if you type in the name project, Shane Michael Chrisp is probably attached to it. Shane Michael Chrisp, that's how it's going. And I think that's fantastic. How lucky are we to have you on here for an hour of your time? Thank you so much to you, Shane Michael Chrisp. Thank you to everybody, part of the TPV Nation that have tuned in. And I know Dale wanted to wrap up with a couple things as well. Go ahead, Dale.
I just want to say congratulations on the new on your future daughter. That's going to be you're breeding future researchers. That's just the way I think that's why we're having kids,
Right,
so we can
exactly.
have future researchers. But yeah, no, congratulations on that. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in. Don't forget tomorrow, Chaos Con. Michael, John, and myself, we are going to be there. Hopefully, some of you guys will be there too. Stop by the booth, say hi to us. Shane, it was such a great pleasure meeting you. We look forward to having you on again for sure. I know a few comments on the side that are blaring through saying one more hour, one more hour. We would love to have. We probably even another hour wouldn't cover to what we have to talk about with this gentleman. I just want to say thank you so much. It was a great talking to you. With that, Michael, John.
I appreciate it. Like I said, real quick, I'm so honored to be on your guys' show. And like I said, I apologize for the little hiccup a couple of weeks ago, but this was a great hour. And I am truly honored that you guys had me on. And I'd love to do a part 2 in the near future with you guys.
Well, absolutely. We will definitely have you on before you decide to take your hiatus. That is for sure.
Okay.
But Michael, John, what do we say, buddy?
Well, what I do say to all our fans out there, number one, hashtag grateful, thankful, and blessed. Shane, Michael Chrisp, one more time. Thank you so much to the TPV Nation. We will see you on the other side. But in the meantime and in between time, happy hauntings.
Happy hauntings.